I picked up a hitchhiker during a storm. He never left my car. People always ask me why I refuse to drive at night. I usually tell them I just don't like traffic. The truth? Because 22 years ago, I picked up a man during a storm. And somehow, he never left my car. Even now, after all these years, I still check the rearview mirror before I start the engine. And sometimes, I wish I hadn't. It happened in October of 2004. I was 28, fresh out of a divorce, trying to rebuild my life. My mother had just passed away from cancer, and I spent most days driving between work and the small town where she was buried. Rain had been pouring all afternoon. By midnight, the highway was almost empty. Lightning flashed across the sky. Thunder rattled the windows, and visibility was terrible. I remember thinking I should stop at a motel. Then I saw him, standing on the side of the road. A man in his 50s, soaked from head to toe, wearing a dark coat, no umbrella, no luggage, just standing there, his thumb raised. Something about him made me uneasy. Maybe it was the fact that nobody would be out there in weather like that. Or maybe it was his eyes. He looked exhausted, broken, like someone who had lost everything. I almost kept driving. But then I thought about my mother. She had always taught me to help people. So I stopped. The man climbed into the back seat. Not the front, the back, which struck me as odd. "Thanks," he said quietly. His voice sounded tired. Not threatening, just sad. "Where are you headed?" I asked. "North." That was all he said. North. Nothing else. For nearly 20 minutes, we drove in silence. Rain hammered the windshield. The only sounds were the wipers and distant thunder. Then suddenly, the man spoke. "She forgave you." I froze. "What?" "Your mother." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. I hadn't mentioned my mother. I hadn't mentioned anyone. Maybe I looked upset because the man smiled gently. "She forgave you." I felt chills run through my body. I had blamed myself for years. I had missed her final phone call. By the time I arrived at the hospital, she was gone. I never got to say goodbye. And somehow, this stranger knew. "Who are you?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked out the window and quietly said, "Turn left at the next intersection. There isn't a road there." There used to be. Lightning illuminated his face, and for the first time, I noticed something strange. His clothes weren't wet anymore, not even slightly. I glanced in the mirror again. He was staring directly at me, smiling. Not a creepy smile, not evil, just sad. Then he asked, "Do you still blame yourself?" Before I could answer, headlights appeared in front of us. A truck, coming straight toward me. I swerved violently. The car spun. Glass shattered. Metal screamed. Everything went black. I woke up in the hospital. 3 days later. My car had rolled into a ditch. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. Doctors said I was lucky to be alive. I had been alone. No passenger. No footprints. Nothing. I convinced myself I had imagined the hitchhiker, a hallucination caused by stress. Eventually, life moved on. I remarried, had a son, bought a house, and little by little, I forgot, until 8 years later. I was cleaning the garage with my son, Daniel. He was 6 years old. Suddenly, he stopped and looked inside my parked car, then smiled. "Who's that man?" My blood turned cold. What man? The man in the back. I nearly dropped the toolbox. There isn't anyone back there. Daniel frowned. "Yes, there is." He's waving. My heart stopped. I slowly looked through the window. Empty. Completely empty. But Daniel waved back and smiled. He says hello. I sold that car the next day. Or at least I tried to. But something strange happened. 3 dealerships refused to buy it. One mechanic drove it around the block. When he returned, he looked pale and simply said, "No thanks." He never explained why. Eventually, I parked the car in storage and forgot about it, or tried to. Years passed. Then my wife died unexpectedly. Heart attack. No warning. One moment she was laughing. The next, she was gone. The grief nearly destroyed me. I became distant, angry, alone. And one night, without really thinking, I went to the storage unit. The car sat exactly where I'd left it, covered in dust. I climbed inside and cried. 4 hours. Then I heard it. A voice from the backseat. Soft, gentle. She forgave you too. Every muscle in my body froze. Slowly, very slowly. I looked in the rearview mirror. The hitchhiker sat exactly where I remembered. Same coat, same tired eyes, same sad smile. 20 years hadn't changed him. He looked at me with pity. Not malice, not hatred. Pity. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then he said something I'll never forget. You're carrying too much. And for the first time in 20 years, I spoke to him. What are you? He stared at the rain outside, then answered. A passenger. Nothing more, nothing less. He then leaned forward and whispered, Drive. I don't know why, but I obeyed. I drove for nearly an hour, until he told me to stop. We were standing outside an old cemetery, my mother's cemetery, the one I hadn't visited in over 15 years. The rain had stopped. Moonlight covered the gravestones. The hitchhiker smiled. Go. I stepped out, walked to my mother's grave, and froze. Someone had left fresh flowers. White lilies. My mother's favorite. No one knew that. No one. Tears streamed down my face. When I returned to the car, the backseat was empty. For the first time. Gone. I never saw him again. Or so I thought. 3 months ago, my granddaughter Emma climbed into my car. She was 4. As I buckled her seatbelt, she laughed. Grandpa. Yes. Your friend says hi. My blood froze. What friend? She pointed to the rearview mirror. The sad man. He says you're driving too fast. I looked, and for one terrible second, I saw him, and for smiling, one terrible second, watching. Then he was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I searched old newspaper archives, and eventually, I found his photograph. His name was William Harper. He died in a car accident, October 14th, 1978, on the same highway where I picked him up. He had been driving home from his mother's funeral, and according to the report, witnesses said he blamed himself for missing her final phone call. My blood ran cold, because that wasn't the part that terrified me. What terrified me was the final sentence in the article. William Harper's body was discovered in the driver's seat. William Harper's body was discovered in the driver's seat, but police never found the passenger. The end. Question that still haunts me. If William was the driver, then who was the passenger that never left his car? I picked up a hitchhiker during a storm. He never left my car. Final chapter. The passenger. For weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about the newspaper article. William Harper had died in 1978, driving home from his mother's funeral, blaming himself for missing her final phone call. Exactly like me. But according to the police report, they had found only one body. William's. The passenger had never been identified or found. I told myself it had to be coincidence. Nothing more. Until Emma drew a picture. She was 5 years old by then. One afternoon, she ran into the living room excitedly. Grandpa, look. I smiled, but my smile vanished the moment I saw the drawing. There was my car, Emma in the front seat, me beside her, and someone else, sitting in the back. The sad man. But he wasn't alone. There was another figure sitting beside him. A woman, an elderly woman, and both of them were smiling. Who's she? I asked. Emma shrugged. The sad man's mommy. My blood ran cold. He found her. That night, I returned to the newspaper archives. I searched for William Harper's mother. Her name was Eleanor Harper. She had died from cancer. October 12, 1978, 2 days before William's accident. And then I found something strange. A witness statement. One that had never made the news. A truck driver had claimed he saw William's car moments before the crash. According to him, William wasn't alone. He saw 2 people inside, William and an elderly woman. But police dismissed the statement. They assumed the driver had been mistaken. The body of the woman was never found. I sat there staring at the screen, unable to breathe. Had William picked someone up too? Had he spent decades searching for his mother? Or had someone been helping him all along? The thought haunted me, until the night Emma disappeared. It happened during a thunderstorm, the same kind of storm from 22 years earlier. I was babysitting while my daughter and son-in-law attended a wedding. Around midnight, the lights flickered. When they returned, Emma was gone. The front door stood open. Panic exploded inside me. Police arrived. Neighbors searched. Hours passed. Nothing. Then I heard it. A car horn. Outside. My old car. The one I had abandoned years ago. The headlights were on. Engine running. Impossible. Nobody had touched it. My heart pounded as I approached. And there she was. Emma. Sleeping peacefully in the passenger seat. And sitting behind her was William. He looked exactly the same. But he wasn't alone. The elderly woman sat beside him. His mother. Both smiling. Neither looked frightening. They looked peaceful. William nodded toward Emma, as though returning something precious. Then he looked at me. And for the first time, he spoke more than a few words. We only borrow each other. Tears filled my eyes. What are you? William smiled. Someone who needed a ride. Then he looked at his mother. And for the first time in 46 years, his sadness disappeared. He finally looked happy. The rain stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds. And both of them slowly faded. Together. Gone. Forever. Or so I thought. Years later, I lay in a hospital bed. 86 years old. Weak. Tired. The doctors had already spoken to my family. I knew my time was close. One evening, as the sun set outside my window, I heard a familiar voice. Soft. Gentle. Ready. I opened my eyes. William sat beside the bed. Smiling. No sadness. No loneliness. Just peace. Behind him stood my mother. My wife. And people I had lost over the years. Waiting. Not as ghosts. Not as monsters. But as family. I smiled through tears. You came back. William chuckled softly. I told you. I'm a passenger. He stood and extended his hand. I took it. And together, we walked out of the room. The next morning, the nurses found me, gone peacefully in my sleep, with a smile on my face. But that's not the strangest part. My grandson attended the funeral. As everyone was leaving, his 7-year-old son tugged on his sleeve. Daddy. Yes. The nice man says Grandpa made it home. My son froze. What nice man? The boy pointed toward the parking lot, where an old man in a dark coat stood beside a car, smiling, waiting, and for just a second, before disappearing into the morning sunlight, William Harper tipped his hat. Because some passengers never leave. Not until everyone gets home. The end. A final twist. The mysterious hitchhiker was never evil. He was another lost soul, forever giving comfort to those burdened by guilt, until they were finally reunited with the people they loved.